The warnings have flooded your feed. A trade war, launched from Washington, is now allegedly hitting the one place millions of North Americans thought was untouchable: the aisles of Costco. The story goes that tariffs are forcing prices to skyrocket on the Kirkland Signature products you trust. But inside these massive warehouses, beyond the headlines and the political noise, a different kind of war is being waged. It's a silent global battle fought not with tariffs, but with logistics, strategy, and immense corporate power. How does a retail giant fight back against a superpower's economic policy to protect the price of your groceries? For decades, Costco wasn't just a store, it was a sacred pact with the North American consumer. The deal was simple. You pay an annual membership fee, and in return, Costco would use its colossal buying power to deliver the lowest possible prices on everything from tires to toothpaste. This was more than a business model. It was a philosophy of ruthless efficiency in service of the member. The ultimate symbol of this pact became the Kirkland Signature brand, a promise of quality equal to or better than national brands, at a fraction of the cost. This was the bedrock of trust, but that trust was built on a hyper-efficient, borderless world. Costco's genius was its ability to scour the globe, creating a complex tapestry of suppliers to find the best product at the best price, no matter the origin. This global sourcing strategy, the very engine of its low prices, would soon collide head-on with a powerful new force: economic nationalism. The wave of America First tariffs, initially aimed at industrial goods from China, began to expand. Suddenly, a product's country of origin wasn't just a logistical detail, it was a political liability. The tariffs acted like dams, threatening to block the global streams of goods that fed Costco's shelves. The retailer, a master of the free market, was now caught in the crossfire of a trade war. The core promise to its members, unbeatable value, was facing its greatest external threat in a generation, a threat not from a competitor, but from its own government's policies. The policy, when it arrived, was a tectonic shift in decades of American trade doctrine. Under the banner of America First, Washington unleashed a barrage of tariffs, primarily targeting China, but creating ripple effects across the globe. The stated rationale was to counteract what was described as unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and to reinvigorate the American manufacturing base. It was a promise to level the global playing field and protect American workers. The strategy was to make imported goods more expensive, thereby incentivizing American companies to reshore their production and buy American. In theory, the logic was straightforward. If a TV from China suddenly costs 25% more, a company might choose to build one in Ohio instead. The tariffs were a blunt instrument designed to force a radical rewiring of the global supply chain. Policymakers often view global supply chains as a set of simple, linear connections. You cut one and you force a new one to grow elsewhere, preferably domestically, but that's a fundamental misunderstanding. These aren't simple lines. They are deeply interwoven, decades-old ecosystems. A single product, like a piece of furniture or even a food item, can have components and raw materials sourced from half a dozen countries, processed in another, and assembled in yet another. The tariffs didn't just target finished goods. They hit everything from steel and aluminum to bicycle parts and electronic micro-components. It created chaos and unpredictability, the two things that are poison to an efficient supply chain. This chaos directly threatened the foundation of Costco's business model. For years, the retailer had perfected the art of global sourcing. Their Kirkland Signature olive oil might come from Spain or Italy, their frozen salmon from the fjords of Norway, their cashews from Vietnam, their textiles from India. The country of origin was secondary to the primary metrics, quality and price. The tariffs fundamentally challenged this. Suddenly, a team of buyers in Issaquah, Washington, had to become geopolitical strategists. A shipment of furniture from China, a reliable bestseller, was now a financial liability. Washington's assumption seemed to be that retailers like Costco would simply act as a conduit, passing the increased costs directly to the consumer. The sticker price would go up, the consumer would get angry, and the political pressure would supposedly force change. But they underestimated the resolve, the resources, and the sheer strategic cunning of a company whose entire identity was built on one single promise: protecting its members from price hikes. The government had started a trade war, but Costco was about to launch its own quiet, devastatingly effective counteroffensive. While headlines predicted doom for shoppers' wallets, inside Costco's corporate headquarters, a global defense strategy was already in motion. This wasn't panic. It was a calculated response from a company that treats logistics like a martial art. Their first and most powerful weapon was rerouting. As confirmed by reports in Barron's and MarketWatch, Costco's global teams began a massive effort to shift sourcing away from tariff-hit regions. If a 25% tariff was placed on a product from China, they would leverage their network to find a comparable supplier in a country like Vietnam, Thailand, or India that was not subject to the same tax. They effectively routed their supply chain around the political roadblocks. This wasn't just about finding new suppliers. In some cases, it involved shifting the final point of assembly to a non-tariff country, a complex but effective maneuver to change the product's legal country of origin. Their second weapon was preemptive force. Armed with immense cash reserves and vast warehousing, Costco began placing massive orders far in advance of anticipated new tariffs. As multiple analysts noted, if they sensed a new round of tariffs was coming in 6 months, they would order a year's supply immediately, landing it on U.S. soil before the tax could be implemented. This allowed them to lock in pre-tariff prices, creating a buffer that could last for months, completely shielding the consumer from the initial shock. The third tactic was a strategic pivot inward. Where it made sense, Costco accelerated its shift towards North American suppliers, particularly for its Kirkland brand. This wasn't a reluctant reaction to tariffs, but an acceleration of an existing strategy to strengthen local supply chains on their own terms. Finally, and most critically, Costco deployed its ultimate weapon, absorbing the cost. For essential, high-visibility items, the company made a conscious decision to sacrifice its own profit margins to hold the line on prices. While online rumors screamed about prices doubling, the reality, as reported by outlets like Entrepreneur and Business Insider, was that Costco was actively cutting prices on key staples like eggs and butter to reinforce its value proposition. CEO Ron Vakris himself has acknowledged the pressures, stressing the company's flexible and aggressive strategies to maintain price stability. It was a masterclass in using corporate scale as a defensive shield for the consumer. This creates a fascinating and persistent stalemate. On one side, a national government wields the power of tariffs, attempting to bend global commerce to its political will. On the other, a corporate giant with a global footprint and revenue surpassing that of many nations uses its immense logistical power and financial leverage to simply route around the obstruction. The government wants to dictate where companies source their products, but Costco has proven it has the agility and resources to find alternatives faster than policy can keep up. The result is an uneasy truce. The tariffs remain on the books, a constant threat on the horizon. Yet, on the shelves, prices for many Kirkland staples remain remarkably stable, a testament to the quiet war being waged behind the scenes. It's a powerful demonstration of how globalized capital can blunt the impact of nationalist policies. The consumer, for now, is the beneficiary of this standoff, but it leaves a lingering question. In this ongoing conflict between political ambition and corporate power, how long can this fragile equilibrium hold? For millions of Canadians, the cross-border trade tensions and tariff wars emanating from Washington often feel like a distant political storm. Yet, the potential for that storm to flood their household budgets is very real. Canada's economy is deeply integrated with the U.S., and American policy has a direct impact on the price and availability of goods north of the border. In this volatile environment, Costco has become more than just a retailer. It has become an unlikely economic buffer. Consider a family of 4 in Brampton, Ontario. Their monthly shopping list is a testament to Costco's global sourcing. Kirkland coffee from South America, organic quinoa from Peru, clothing from Southeast Asia, and olive oil from the Mediterranean. Each of these items is vulnerable to the whims of international trade disputes and retaliatory tariffs. What Costco has done is create a firewall for its members. A tariff might be imposed by the U.S., which would normally drive up the cost of a product for the entire North American market. But Costco's strategy of rerouting supply chains or absorbing costs means the Canadian consumer is often insulated from that initial price shock. They might not even notice the global drama behind their stable grocery bill. When Costco reported a revenue increase of 8% and a profit jump of 13% in a recent quarter, it wasn't because they were price gouging. It's because their value proposition is so strong that in times of economic uncertainty, their membership and sales volumes actually increase. People flock to them for stability. This stability is the direct result of Costco's aggressive behind-the-scenes maneuvering. While analysts at the Wall Street Journal and Barron's praise the company for being recession-resistant and a top-tier operator in a volatile environment, the real-world impact is felt in the shopping cart. The fact that the price of eggs or butter might see a 7 to 10% decrease, as reported by Entrepreneur, while other retailers are raising prices, is a powerful statement. For Canadian members, the benefit is clear. Their $60 or $120 annual fee buys them a shield. It's an insurance policy against the very price volatility that tariffs are designed to create, proving that even in a global trade war, a determined corporate strategy can maintain a sense of normalcy for millions. Ironically, the very policies designed to protect the American economy and consumer have created an environment where Costco's anti-tariff playbook provides one of the most effective forms of relief for American families. The tariffs were intended to change corporate behavior, but their most immediate effect was to inject uncertainty and cost into the system. For the average American household already squeezed by inflation, this created a new layer of financial anxiety. This is where Costco's strategy became a powerful, if unintended, counterbalance. Consider a small restaurant owner in Phoenix, Arizona. Her business relies on a consistent supply of bulk ingredients like cooking oils, cheeses, and flour at predictable prices. I can't control the price of gas. I can't control my rent. But I know that when I go to Costco, the price of a giant can of olive oil or a 50-pound bag of flour is going to be stable. That consistency is everything for a small business. If my core ingredient costs were jumping 20% every few months because of some trade issue, I'd have to either raise my menu prices and lose customers, or I'd go out of business. Costco holding the line on those key items gives me a fighting chance. It's that simple. Maria's story highlights the core paradox. While Washington waged a macroeconomic war, Costco was winning the microeconomic battle on behalf of its members. The company's impressive same-store sales growth of over 6% in the U.S. during this period wasn't a sign of inflation. It was a sign of a flight to value. Consumers, from families to small business owners, were consolidating their spending at the one place they trusted to protect them from the volatility. Analysts on platforms like RetailWire have repeatedly identified Costco as a primary beneficiary of an inflationary environment, not because they exploit it, but because their model is designed to combat it. The ultimate irony is that in an effort to shield the American economy, U.S. trade policy inadvertently made a single, powerful retailer one of the most important defenses for the American consumer's wallet. The quiet war between tariffs and the warehouse giant reveals a new truth about power in the 21st century economy. National governments can draw lines on a map and impose taxes, but truly globalized companies can redraw their own maps in response, navigating the world's complexities with a speed and agility that policy can rarely match. Costco's defensive masterclass was not a political statement, but a simple act of upholding a 40-year-old promise to its members. The result is a fragile peace, where the price of your groceries is protected by a corporate shield. As global trade becomes a battleground for political ideology, who will you trust more to protect your bottom line? The politicians setting the policy or the retailer setting the price.